Microphone testing. 1, 2, 3. Into music.
Welcome to Into Music. I'm your host, Ron Duskin, aka Ron Deasy, where I will be sharing my personal experience of being a one-man entertainer, multi-instrumentalist, and DJ. If you're into music, you're in the right place. I play a variety of instruments myself. I play private parties, corporate events, backyard parties, birthday parties, wedding receptions, any place that needs music and a DJ. I DJ as well. Let me see, matter of fact, I'm going to start this slideshow of me up here. As I'm talking, you'll see that I don't need to tell you all of the instruments I play. You'll see them. And every picture you see, that's what I do when I play live. Let me get into this, to how I became this person after, I take a sip of my pineapple juice, okay? With ice. I went up to this poetry spot. It was called Spreading Love and Spoken Words. I got up there and I was just looking at everybody gather, because everybody it'd be poets coming up and people who's gonna maybe even sing something, but it's mostly poets come up and they'll do their thing. And I got there and I ended up talking to this one guy for a minute. He said, "Yeah, man, I don't know if we having it tonight because the guy that brings the sound system is not here. The PA system, he ain't here." And I was like, "Well, I got a PA system in my car." The guy said, "Yeah, man, why don't you go ahead and set it up then?" And I'm like, "No, man, I don't want the guy to, roll up and think I'm trying to take over the spot." He said, "No, he probably ain't gonna be here because it's really late and he should have been here by now." So I ended up setting my stuff up, and a few minutes later, the guy comes. He's supposed to run the sound system. He comes up and says, "Hey," I thought he was gonna rip me, I thought it was bad. But he said, "Hey, yo, what's up?" I said, "Hey, what's good?" He said, "Hey, man, I'm glad to see you doing this because I've been looking for somebody to take over this spot because I'm not gonna be able to do it too much no more." And that was like right on the money. So I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Well, just watch me and you'll see how I do it." But what he did was he just, between the different poets and artists coming up to the mic, he'd play a little bit of music, And while I took it over, I would always play a couple of songs or a song before the event starts. And people would really get into that and they would come around. People would come around and hear the music and then hear poets. And then they'll feature me again sometime in the middle of the poetry night. I don't know if they were just taking a break or they would just feature me again, which that worked for me. But after I saw how it was, and then I finally got my foot in the door like that, I started learning more songs. Now, one night a guy came to me, him and this lady, and said, "Hey, I'm going to give a art show, and the kind of music you play, man, and just the kind of vibe that you set, it'll be just right for my art show." Whoever it was with them was saying, "Yeah, we just need you to do jazz, just some background music. You'll be fine. That's all we need you to do. Just what you're doing right here." And I even went to meet with them about a week or so before the art show took place, and they just drilled it in my head over, "Yeah, man, all we need is background music. It ain't like you got to jam it out or nothing like that. Just keep it mellow and just kind of do what you want to do, but just keep it, And I'm like, "Hey, I got it." It was an easy gig. I think they paid me about $350, maybe $400. I'll just say $350 just to keep it fair. But I was like, that was my first gig, and I was proud of that gig. And that gig turned into a catastrophe, let me tell you. Not because I bombed out or something went wrong. It just, the thing, they told me to play background music, but this thing ended up turning into a full blown dance floor boogie down type party. I mean, they came. I don't know what the guy told everybody else who he invited, but he told me one thing, and the crowd came looking for something else because they looked at the art for a minute. They'd be like, "Okay, no, we ready to jam now." And then they started looking at me, and they was like, "Okay, you got to pick it up now. You got to pick it up. You got." Man, it was no such thing as like the iPods, something like that. They hold the music, and our cell phones being able to have playlists on them. It wasn't nothing like that. I had no music other than the jazz stuff. I might have had one Keith Sweat song that I did, which was I Wanna. I did that. They danced to that, but they needed more, and I was sweating bullets because I didn't have it. But that taught me a valuable lesson. I went home and I started getting all of these songs that people were requesting and that I could remember. But there was a lot of songs out that people were dancing to, so I kind of knew what was up. It was easier to find songs and download them back then too, but now I have to do it a certain way. But that's how I became to be a one-man entertainer. I was by myself, and I had to entertain people, and I got into being a DJ. I changed the mood, and I'm going to just go through how I practice. I'm not going to go through the whole song. I'll show you basically how I get from one song to the next as far as my live to my DJ set. I'll be doing some of that, I guess, each time I come on with some content. I'm only going to be playing a couple instruments because where I might not have the crowd as much as I want sometimes, they will dance to the songs that I play on my DJ side of it. You know, it's the songs on the radio. I'm sorry, musicians, but they tend to dictate what the audience want to hear. Okay, so although you might be an excellent entertainer and musician for what you're doing, anyway, like I said, I'm gonna show you a little bit of how I practice, lining the songs up to see how they feel for the kind of audience I know I'm going to play for. I try to do that, and I put some songs together to see how it's going to flow into each other, and that's what I'm going to do right about now. What I'm getting ready to do now is I'm going to, as I'm practicing my set, I always put in a song I think would go there for the type of crowd it's going to be. So my song that's coming out of my live performance will go right into my DJ set. And this is going to be the beginning, maybe the first verse of the song. Then I'm going to stop it and go to the vamp and show you how I do the vamp into the DJ set that's going to be coming up right after my live set. So this is the intro. I hope I don't get in trouble. And I would go into this guitar solo like right there, just like the record. But now I'm going to try to get all the way up to the end. And there you have it. I would go from my live set into my DJ set. I leave them with something that'll take them up, so they'll be anticipating, hopefully anticipating my return. I would like to know how a lot of you feel about music technology now. When I first heard a group in the studio, and instead of them singing the backgrounds all the way down like we used to, you couldn't you couldn't distinguish the sampler from the real vocals, and it was really that close. So music technology is going to keep growing with us, because these days it does amazing things, especially for solo artists, one-man entertainers, people who use backing tracks, people who use loopers. You know, you can do some cool stuff with your backing tracks other than letting them play, and then when that song stops, you either scroll through or either you hit the play button for the next one. If you got a DAW, and DAW is a digital audio workstation that you can make loops. You can take your backing tracks, and instead of letting that backing track in, you can place it. This is your next song. Just overlap it and then crossfade. You can crossfade it in so it won't abruptly go into the song. It'll kind of slide into it, fade into it for the most part. Instead of letting your backing track just come to an end, just see if you can crossfade the next one into it, and do like 3 or 4 of them like that instead. And then if you want to talk to the audience, do about 3 songs and then let it stop while you're doing your thing and talk to them. And you can do that, and the music will be nonstop. There was a time when if you wanted to do any kind of music, you just have to call 4 or 5 guys to your house so you can help get your idea on the reel-to-reel tape player or cassette deck or whatever you had to record on. You used to have to get 5 guys or something to do that for you. But now technology has it to where musicians can do it all themselves. It's become so easy. Even if you don't even play keyboards, they got keyboard applications that'll play keys for you, do the different patterns for you. And bass players, if you want a band to play with, there ain't no bands, and you're like, man, I want to play and sing. I can play bass and sing or whatever. There's a software you can get. Oh man, what's the name of this? It's on my other computer and I left it upstairs this time. Remove instruments from songs, something like that. Just Google something like that. But bass players, you can get that software and take out the bass line, especially if it's just a backing track. You just take the bass line out. But you can get the real song and do this. As far as what I know about this software, you can get a real song. A guitar player can do this. A drummer can do this. A drummer can play a gig by himself now. Have the track. He just play to the track. Hopefully he won't leave the track behind. Whatever it is he's playing, hopefully he can hear it good and he can keep up with it. You can take the drum out. He play the drums and sing, and that'll be a good show. I mean, you don't see much of that. If anybody want to play music, they got a lot of choices. There's a lot of choices that you can have at your fingertips, depending on what direction you want to go. This has been another segment of Into Music. If you're into music, you're in the right place. If you're a solo performer, if you're a one-man entertainer, a street performer, a guitar player who sits in a chair on a stage and plays his guitar and sings and have a harmonica, any musicians out here making it happen for themselves and because of the love of music, this is your spot. I hope that you will subscribe to the channel and put your notifications on, so when I put something out, you can come check me out and hang out with me for a minute. Give me a thumbs up, please, like this, that thumbs up. If you have any comments, put them down, I would love to hear what you think. I would love to hear your ideas about some things. If there's something I haven't talked about or spoke on, please put it down in the comments. I would love to answer some questions. I hope to see you all again. I shall return with another segment of Into Music. You all take care. I bid you a good evening.